There are no bad cameras. Sure, there are preferences, likes and dislikes, pros and cons. There are especially brand loyalties, but there are no bad cameras. There are different experiences, different approaches to imaging. There are different philosophies. I like to think that the Leica M mount demonstrates this complexity in the world of camera gear. It's a system where each lens and body, even lenses and bodies made by the same manufacturer, are their own experience. Whether it be in the imaging or the handling, there are very few pieces that are much like the other. In contrast, in our highly automated world, most systems have a lens that attaches to a body, and when you press the shutter release, you get an image. If it weren't for the size of the gear and what it looks like, would you really be able to separate the experience of one camera lens combination from the other? I don't mean to paint a negative image of our autofocus reality. In fact, as per the title of this video, it's quite the opposite. We live in a time where capturing moments is as easy and as instant as ever. The world wants this, and the world needs it. More documentation, more sharing of stories and places. But this is a topic for another day. The M mount, for all its failings and overhyped reputation in the world, is a system that requires copious amounts of thought. Manually exposing your image means that you need to stop and give thought to how lighting affects your picture. Manually focusing means you need to stop and give thought to your focusing patch. But even before this, choosing your gear is a journey upon itself. Body after body offer different viewfinder magnifications with different available frame lines, better or worse eye relief, brass or aluminum build, rewind knobs or levers. Do your research and it isn't as overwhelming as I might make it seem. But if you're buying a Canon DSLR, don't you just choose by how much is available in your bank account at the time? So we come to where I think it is the most diverse, and also today's topic. Lenses. The Zeiss Planner and the Leica Sumerit come from two lens makers who are seemingly on different sides of the lens philosophy spectrum. While the two companies employ many different optical designs and body designs throughout their ranges are cohesive and unified. Of course, this isn't some new revelation to mankind. A quick Google search of Zeiss look or Leica look will yield decades of analysis and debate at the highest intellectual level possible on internet forums. It's 100% understandable. Honestly, I feel the need to defend my purchases all the time. Nothing is cheap, especially not M-mount glass. And when you've invested days of your life choosing your lens, there's some pride to it, for better or for worse. And of course, there are tangible physical differences and visible optical differences that can always be considered. I like to think of myself as somewhat of an agnostic when it comes to gear. I love gear, and not just pretty gear. However, these two lenses are both pretty, and I think great things of them both, despite their differences. Let's look on the surface first. The Sumerit line is one of the few lines of lenses that Leica doesn't make out of brass. We all lust for Summicrons and Sumuluxes, but for me, choosing a lens has to mean I'll shoot with it. The weight and diminutive size of this Sumerit means that it's never not with me. With the metal hood on it, it's only a little longer than the Planner, and without the hood, the size rivals the 35mm Voigtlander Nocton Classic. The focus throw is incredibly short and light, and feels even more so because of the typical Leica focus tab. It's smooth, tactile, and precise. Who doesn't love focusing in Leica? Zeiss, like Leica, is another German relic of the 19th century, and so is the Planner optical formula. Made in the Japanese Casina factories, the ZM lenses are a bit like the weird child of the M-mount world. While Leica features straight, sleek lines that mix Bauhaus with Scandinavian minimalism, Zeiss has a strong utilitarian nature with bulges and knurlings at important touchpoints. The anodizing is slightly less refined, and highlights are in a very Zeiss blue instead of the Leica yellow. The chrome brass bayonet mount on the front adds a classic touch, whatever that means. Neither of these design approaches are less usable than the other. They're just different. The Zeiss focus knob functions more as a marker of focus position than a physical aid, and one ends up grabbing the ring of the lens with a thumb and finger rather than a knob. The focus throw feels longer, but that could be the larger size of the Planner. The heavier dampening and ring may allow you to be more accurate, but a tabbed Leica is likely much faster. Like with all things in camera technology, there are always compromises that come along with the benefits. Now I understand these are two very different lenses. They aren't even the same focal length. The price points are vastly different, and one's intended application of either lens would be very different. I get that. But I think these two lenses exemplify their respective brands' approaches very succinctly. The Leica shoots with a moderately modern look in its sharpness and controlled aberrations, but retains much of the classic characteristics in its focus and light fall-off, and of course, its color rendition. It's likely one of the more modern drawing lenses in the vast Leica catalog, but it doesn't lose its identity. The Planner is a stronghold of the Zeiss look. Bold, saturated, sharp, brilliant, mind-blowing, these are all words I would use to describe this lens. The high-tech Zeiss coatings allow the lens to draw so much contrast, while the rather primitive optical formula is somehow able to give you low distortion and plenty of that 3D pop Zeiss is so known for. And the truth is, all Zeiss lenses are like this. Some may have better bokeh than others, some might be faster, some might be better portrait lenses, but they're all exciting photography. One way to describe the differences may be to say that the Leica gives you a more realistic rendition of the world, and another might be to say that the Zeiss gives you an interpretation of shapes and colors that has more emphasis and authority. It isn't for me to tell you which one is best, it's for you to identify which one is more in line with your vision. Certain companies chase measurables, like great DxO ratings, high global sharpness. Makers of M-mount lenses chase their own ideas of what makes great imaging. The lovely thing is that all these ideas and lenses are available to us to spend our tax returns on and enjoy. My favorite camera doesn't have to be your favorite camera, and your favorite lens doesn't have to be mine. We all have different eyes, different minds, and different aspirations. Our inability to see and interpret the world in exactly the same way as each other means that we just have to share our own visions. Cameras are such an analog for the human condition. How do you want to capture? Through the lens? Using a viewfinder? From the hip? How do you imagine the world? Vibrant and brilliant? Through a mess of light? Sharp precision? With subdued realism? However you see, there's something for you. Take your pick. There are no bad cameras.